Welcome to the Armchair GM podcast. The 2026 draft is come and gone, and boy, are Flames fans excited. So excited that we brought on John from Red Mile Rundown. Let's get into it. You are watching the Armchair GM podcast. Boom. It's going to be difficult to find highlights for the 26-27 season intro video. between all the people we got rid of, and I suppose it'll be like 7 videos of Perec, I think, is pretty much all it's going to be.
Yeah,
and Wolf, yeah, we should probably throw in a Cooley in there.
just a big picture of Cooley's rabbit. That's it. Well, John, welcome in. Thanks for joining.
Hey, my pleasure, fellas.
Yeah.
So I've got the entire list, the Flames future that was Friday and Saturday, and we're going to see what you fellas truly think of the list and the players that they brought in. And there's a lot of positives in there. There's some interesting ones, but I'm excited to hear what your guys' take is on all these guys.
Mm-hmm.
So without further ado, should we just get right into it, fellas?
Let's do it.
Let's do it. So in our first pick at 6th overall, and a surprising move because we seem to be hoarding defenders now. So somewhat surprising. Obviously, they went with the best player available, and I'm kind of excited to see what this kid can do. And Carson Carroll's, who's 6'2", just shy of 200 pounds, playing in the WHL in Prince George. So let's start with you, John. What's your take on Carson? What are you thinking?
Yeah, this is a good pick. This is a good pick, fellas. Everyone's gonna make fun of the too many defensemen thing, but I've never heard a GM ever complain about having too many defensemen. So that for me, this is a great no-brainer pick. It's exactly what the Flames need. Left shot, which really makes a big difference for the Flames as well to balance that lineup out. This is a kid that's going to play in all situations and has the ability to play in all situations. This guy's a perfect guy from the farm for the Flames. It's like he was handmade for a roster like the Flames are. So I think Flames are going to love this guy. I think fans are going to fall in love with this guy really quickly. If you ever watch Prince George in the Western Hockey League, you see what he brings to the table. Dylan asked me for a comp, so I'm going to spoil my comp early on this one. This guy's like a tough Charlie McAvoy style player. Skates well, moves the puck well. He'll step up, he'll hit you. He's not afraid to get into the mix in front of the net either. So if you leave this guy alone, he's going to burn you, or he'll step up and make you pay if you don't have your head on a swivel there. So this pick is it really was a no-brainer for me. I know a lot of people wanted Vigo Bork, but when you have a defenseman of this caliber, and Conroy called him a captain level caliber prospect, you have to jump on it and take it. So I love this pick.
Yep. Dylan.
I agree with most of that. From what I hear, the Flames had him as high as 3. Mm-hmm. So that's a no-brainer, right? Like, as much as you might want Bjork, I wanted Bjork mostly because I thought that Carroll's would not be there. Sorry, Carl's, I believe, was not going to be there. But he was, because he was higher on my list than Vigo Bjork. So I wasn't upset by it at all. I was just extremely pumped when I heard Buffalo call Daxton Rudolph's name. I was like, okay, well, we're definitely getting one of the players I want. So I was pretty happy with it. Like you said, good transitional player. One thing I like about him and why he fits well with the Flames right now and the roster they have with Simon Nemec, who we'll talk about later, and Zane Parekh, is that he plays left. He's a left shot, and he's meat and potatoes when it comes to passing. He's not super creative. He's very meat and potatoes passing, and he's very tough and direct with his defending. Like he'll get in passing lanes, and then once the passing lane goes away, he'll attack the player and hit the player or poke check the puck. And I really like the more defensive style. He does have offensive acumen as well, just from the transitional, breakout passes and stuff like that. So that'll be fun. But I really like that he's going to fit really well, in my opinion, with one of Nemec or Zaimperek. My comp with him was a James Bouwmeester level skater, because he's got that wicked stride. He's really fast, but more of a Alex Pietrangelo defender, which is huge because, Pietrangelo was vicious when it came to how he defended man on man and defended the rush. He was somewhat vicious before he had to. I don't think he's officially retired, but I'm pretty sure he's retired.
Yeah. It's kind of a shame that Daryl Sutter isn't around, because I tell you, Carson would get as much ice time as he could possibly want, because I would imagine that Daryl would just absolutely love this kid.
Yeah, he would.
Yeah,
absolutely.
All right. So later on in the first round, we utilized our first round pick that we got for the it was for the Hannafin trade, right? So with that pick, the Flames went with a 6'1", 185-pound, playing out of Youngstown and the USHL in Jack Hextall. Dylan, we might as well start with you on this one.
I had an interesting comp for this one. I was going to go with Vinny Trocheck. And one of the things that, I watched a whole bunch of prospect breakdown videos on this guy. Obviously, I don't have a whole lot of viewings on most of these guys, but I watched some prospect breakdown videos with positives and negatives, and I found a lot that I can kind of draw with from Vinny Trocheck, which is he can play with anybody. He can play with any kind of different player, whether it's a high-level scorer, high-level playmaker, grinders and two-way forwards, whatever. He can kind of jive and change his game to be versatile and play with different kinds of line mates. And that's huge for me. Also, with Vinny Trocheck, kind of a two-way center, mostly, with kind of underrated skill, not the most lethal shot, but great hand-eye coordination and the ability to raise the puck quickly, which was all of that was very impressive to me. Now, he would have been one of my few targets around there, so I'm pretty happy with this one. And I believe you were too, John.
Oh, yeah, I waxed poetically. I was on Locked On Flames podcast, and he asked me about this because people always like to try to make this, hey, where's your big splash? What's your guy? This was my guy. This was my guy. I called this guy weeks ago on my podcast, and so I waxed poetically about Jack Hextall and what he brings to the Flames. I love your comp there. My comp for him is a Sean Couturier style player. This is a guy who's going to drive his line, and that's not a lot of centers the Flames have right now drive their line. This guy will drive the line. This guy will run your power play up front. This guy will do a lot of things. His faceoffs are incredible. And I think when he goes to Michigan State, he's going to force his way into that loaded top six they have there. I quite like this player. This was a player that I would have traded up into the low teens, early 20s to draft. But the draft board fell in such a perfect way for the Flames. They didn't have to waste an asset to move up to get him, and he falls to them. He is a great player, and I think Flame fans are going to love this guy. And I know people are going to be like, well, he's an American passport. I don't care, because this guy is going to come in here. He's going to fit in well, and he's going to earn himself a job. He does have things to work on and things to prove on. Consistency is one of those things. His 5-on-5 play is one of those things, but you're 18 years old. You're not a complete hockey player at this age. So for me, this was a very good pick. Right-handed shot center fits exactly what the Flames need. He's the style the Flames love to play, and I think he's going to do nothing but good things for the Flames. And just imagine him playing with a Ethan Wittenbach or a Cotton Potter down the road here when he becomes an NHL player. So I love this pick. home run for Craig Conroy here, and it's an A+ pick for me.
Yeah, based on my readings after the pick, I'm actually pretty excited about this pickup, to be honest. Obviously, center depth has been an issue with the Flames for a very long time. I don't know that he slots in as a first liner, but I don't see any reason why he can't be a top 6 guy, based on what I've seen. So I am pretty excited about him too.
Think Michael Backlund role of the Flames right now, but with a little bit more scoring. That's exactly what
Yeah.
he projects to be at. And if he's a third line center behind a Cole Reshny and whoever might come into this organization in the 27 draft, because that's loaded with centers, that's exactly a perfect slotting for a guy like him.
Yeah, that's right. And honestly, if you can get a Michael Backlund style with scoring, that would be unbelievable. I feel like the fan base would finally lay off. You know what I mean? Because they really harp on Backlund.
They're never gonna. They're never gonna.
No,
it's
really
frustrating too, because those of us who watch and like really understand, like, I'm not even a hockey player. I haven't played since I was like 7 or 8, but those of us who kind of like understand there's more to the game than just scoring can see how effective Backlund is. Like, is he going to shut down Connor every time? No, but is he one of the only players in the league that has ever done it? Yes.
The thing is, when you get drafted where Backlund was drafted and the expectations are, hey, this is your number 1 guy to play with Jerome McGinley, and you get all of this praise heaped onto you so early, like we're doing with Jack Hextall here, it's hard to live up to those expectations. That was never Backlund's game. Even going back to his junior days, you watch him in Kelowna during that run they had for the Rockets, and he was never that number 1 center, no doubt scorer guy. He was always the two-way guy. Those guys are so valuable in the National Hockey League, and one just won the Conn Smythe Trophy for doing that exact same thing. So you have to have these style of players to win. You can't all have just all top line players. You need the depth of the organization.
Exactly.
100% agree. 100% agree. All right. So moving into the second round, where the Flames did pick 3 times, they traded one away and then acquired another one. It was an interesting thing. I feel like Carolina was just hell bent on trading at every selection. But before that, picking at number 36, a 6'1", 195-pound, Sportsnet lists him as center, where Hockey DB lists him as a left wing. Playing in the WHL for Spokane, we have Chase Harrington.
This guy's a winger. He's definitely a winger.
Yeah.
You watch Spokane in the Western Hockey League. He very rarely plays at center, and it's a situational thing. This guy's a winger, but this is a guy who's not shy. This is a guy who's going to fly up and down your wing. He's a bullet out of the gun. He's that quick. He's hard. He doesn't care what he hits or who he hits. He just cares how hard he hits them. He doesn't stop. He back checks very well. He's got a very good two-way game to him. He'll need to work on finishing at the NHL level unless he's just going to be the energy style player, which is okay because, again, we just talked about depth. You need depth to the organization. He'll have some work to be an NHLer. The Flames, I felt, reached a little bit with this pick, even though I like this pick. I do like Chase's game. I like what he can bring to the lineup. And if he can develop into that Ryan Close style of game where he's just a big-bodied guy, goes to the net, hits everything, trucks everybody else, and is that energy style player, I think down the line here you have a good third, fourth line player, and it'll be worth the second-round draft pick for him.
Yeah, I'm quite a bit older than both of you, and so I definitely have a preference on style of play in the NHL, and I feel like Chase can potentially lead that charge with the picks that we grabbed this year.
Mm-hmm. Yep.
So I'm excited about it.
I think you just sold Chris. Like, whether or not he was sold already, I think you just sold him even more, because that's like,
you know what, I was like,
to a T.
like I want to know what's going on with this Chase character, and John just sold me on him. Well done, appreciate it.
If you like a player that goes north south and hits, I think you're gonna quite like how Chase plays. He is kind of an older school player. He scores at the WHL level. Pardon my French there. But you got to translate that now to the next level. So I think it's going to be a very good overage season for him, very important season for him, going back to the WHL, seeing what he can do. He's probably going to take a few years to get there. But if this guy, and let's live in dreamland for a minute here, if he can develop how he develops and Andrew Basher can develop how he should develop, that could be a very formidable line down the road for the Flames with whoever is at center between those two guys, and be a big ball of I hate to play against you. And that's what the Flames need here, a little bit of grit.
Yeah. People don't realize just how important that middle six is.
Mhm.
Like the middle six is what gets you going. Like that's like teams like Tampa aren't winning cups without Coleman in the middle six. You know, those guys are just key elements to advancing to the next level.
Mhm.
Barkley
obviously they're-
Gaudreau and Alex Killorn and those types of guys who just grind away and tire you out.
Well,
Yeah.
look who just won the cup with Carolina.
Eric
It wasn't their top line that was scoring, leading the way. It was your middle six guys getting the job done, banging, crashing bodies. Jackson Blake led the team in scoring. He's a second line player, so it's not always your
Well-known
top-end guys.
grinder Taylor Hall.
Yeah, yeah.
But now you know what? I'll leave it alone.
Grinding something. Anyways, so I have maybe kind of an interesting comp for this guy, and it starts right with where you were going when you first started describing Chase Harrington, which is one site has him listed as a center and the other site has him listed as a left winger, and that's the very first NHL season of Connor Zary, where I was very high on that player on this in his first season. And I mean, anybody who's listened to the show, I don't need to go on about it, but yeah, I think this guy drives the net. He's got a little bit more bite than Zary ever had, but he really drives the net, can raise the puck really high, really quickly, just like Hextall. I think they're similar style players. I just think Hextall has a little bit more skill and Harrington has a little bit more jam. But yeah, I think always in position for those rebounds, always in position for those tips, and has the hand-eye to do it. And then when it comes to the jam, like, I don't know if either of you saw the clip of when Carson Carrolls got hit by a different player on Spokane, and Carl's was down and hurt right near the Spokane bench, and Chase Harrington was leant over the bench screaming at him. Like, his head was like over the bench and down, like screaming at Carl. Like, this guy he's an asshole. He's a fucking dick. And you kind of need that a little bit in your lineup. So I like the pick. Again, was it a reach? Was it not a reach?
It was.
Mathis Preston available. There's a couple guys who you could say are there, but then there's also, there's a ledge, right? All those guys were kind of on the same ledge, in my opinion. And then that's when you go for, positional need or stylistic need, is when there's a ledge and you're kind of close to that ledge, then you can lean one way or the other. That's the same thing with Carl's. Like, was Reed maybe a better pick, like skill-wise? Maybe, but does he fit the team, when it comes to defensive play? No, we need the defensive play. So, when guys are rated relatively the same, go with team need at that point.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. See, John sold me on the player, and then Dylan quickly faded that out. Damn it, Dylan! You've just got this way with words. Comparing him to Zary.
The thing with Zary is, though, before these injuries, when he first came into the league, Connor Zary was all over the place. He was a ping pong ball, and I honestly think that my opinion on this player is he's not a different player. He needs to get over the psychological side of, hey, my knee's fine now, I'm good. I can still play here. And then at the same time, as him playing that way, he does need a defined role. And so my thing is this is 50-50 between Zary and the coach. They're not seeing eye to eye for some reason. Give the kid a role, define that role, but also make him earn that role. You can do both at one time, but you've got to define it and you've got to have that conversation. And it just doesn't seem like these two guys gel. And so Connor Zary is still a great hockey player. And he needs a role, though. He's not a fourth line guy, and he just never will be.
He needs a role
I
and
agree.
consistent line mates and a consistent position, because he's left, center, right, up and down the lineup every game.
Yeah, what's your role?
Keep him with the same line on the same position for like 20 games before you make a decision on him.
Yeah, I mean, clearly Huska doesn't trust the player. There's something going on there. What it is, I'm not sure. I feel like the only chance for Zary to really move forward with his career and get that defined role is unfortunately probably with another team.
Probably.
And so it's unfortunate because like his first year, and even just the praise he had in the A and coming up, but his first year playing with Pospisil and Calgary, that line was phenomenal. And it and it was mostly being driven by Zary, right? Like he was really the catalyst behind how that team excelled. It gave Kadri a new lease on life, it appeared too. Like he became a better player. Obviously, pulling Pospisil along for the ride as well. And ever since he's not playing with Zary, where is he now? Like clearly there was one player that was the heartbeat of that line. And and then he gets his injury, or two, I guess, technically with the knees. And yeah, there's definitely a disconnect between player and coach, and it's really
100%.
unfortunate to see.
Yep, and there's a hesitation with him when it comes to, like John said, when it comes to getting into the dirty areas and holding on to the puck like he used to. Like the biggest thing that made me a fan of him was that he was behind the goalie scoring goals, and that he was on the boards circling with the puck and not letting it go. But now somebody comes at him, he's almost afraid and tries to pass it, and doesn't get in front or behind as much as he used to. So, anyway, back to the draft.
Back to the draft. So it looks like Calgary had their sights set on a player, and made a bit of a move in inner draft, which was cool. Took the first goaltender off the board, with a 6'4", 196-pound Tobias Treball from playing in Youngstown in the USHL. There's a lot to like about this goaltender, I believe, based on everything that I've seen. I'll be honest with you, I didn't know much about him at all until he was drafted, and then I looked at it, and okay, now I can see some excitement at level there. Does he come with the Wolf excitement? Obviously not. But I think given some time in the A, I think he can develop into something. Dylan, what do you think of this pickup as a goaltender?
I'm a fan. Now, again, this is one of those ones that was hard, and this is why this is going to be the last comp I have for any of these players. We'll go into breakdowns of how these guys play a little bit more, but it's hard to do comps with players that you don't see any clips of also negative things that they do, right? So I only saw any positive things and highlights of his. And he really reminded me, and this is going to piss a lot of people in Calgary off, but he really reminded me of prime Mike Smith. And I mean, before he was in Calgary, Mike Smith.
God, I hope he knows how to stay in the net.
That's part of it. So if you watch highlight videos, this guy is playing the puck a lot, like all the time. Now, is he playing it badly like Smith did? I know that Smith had this reputation of being a good puck player, but that's something the media is awful at. A lot doesn't mean good. So to me, I don't know if that's a positive or a negative, because I saw a lot of it, but I didn't see any bad stuff because it was just highlights. So I don't know if it's good or bad. Also tall and lanky, the stance in the crease before I even saw any of the puck play, I was watching him in the crease and I saw, wow, this guy looks like Mike Smith in the crease. Like just how tall he is and how lanky he is. And prime Mike Smith before he was in Calgary was really good at lateral movement. And I think those are the things I saw that I liked about Tobias Trable, I believe is how you say it.
Don't mind that comparison, but I'm going to tell you one thing. He's a lot calmer than Mike Smith is. Like when you watch this guy play, there's a calmness to his game. So I go with a Pecorino style guy. It's tall in the net. He's calm. He's cool. He's collective. He doesn't lose his crease like Smith likes to lose his crease. We all know that. We've seen that many times. Ruined Jerome McGinley's jersey retirement night because he couldn't find his crease. Story for another day. But I find that he's just a calm, cool, collective goaltender. And when he goes to college here, he's going to have an opportunity to be a number one again. He's going to have an opportunity to have that net, an opportunity to develop. This was a good pick, in my opinion, for the fact that you had 3 in the second round. You had a couple to quote-unquote play around with. And I think that's what the Flames did here is they played around a little bit, used some assets, targeted a guy, went and found this guy. Jordan Sigalet has really changed how I look at goaltending in the Flames organization, by the way he runs that goaltending department, how Jason LaBarbera and Mackenzie Sapsky coach these goaltenders up once they're in the organization. It's not like going like we used to draft and you just see end after end of awful goaltender. The Matt Keatleys come to mind. Though Brent Cron with the injuries, those things are a thing of the past, I think now. And people, I've had a few conversations on Twitter where people are like, "Why a goaltender? We're set in goal." You're never set in goal. You have a guy, you have a decent backup, and you should have a guy in the A, but then what's behind that guy? And that's what he is for the Flames right now. You have Sergeyev, you have Zarubin. What are these guys? How can you develop these guys? And then you have someone behind them. What's next behind them? You need that pipeline keep going. So I like the use of a second-round pick here on a goaltender that they had their eyes set on. They like this guy. There's a reason why they like this guy. And Jordan Sigalet has hit on Dustin Wolf. He's hit on Sergeyev. He hit on Dan Vladar. He hit on David Riddick. And those are goaltenders that have gone elsewhere and become good NHL goaltenders. You have to have faith in what Jordan Sigalet saw here with this player. And you have to believe that at college, he's going to get this opportunity to just develop to the next level. Goaltenders are voodoo, and they take 5, 6, 7 years to develop into anything, let alone what Dustin Wolf is. So, and then we have to remember the age of Devin Cooley as well. He's already 30 years old. Can he repeat what he did last year? Is there going to be a fall off? And there is a world where he is used as trade bait. He is a world where you move on from Devin Cooley because it's best for the organization. Someone's offering you a ridiculous price to bring somebody else in. So there's always that side of it too. So I love adding to the pipeline of goaltenders, and I think they have found themselves one that they can work with, and you have to have faith that they can develop this guy now to be an NHL caliber goaltender here.
Yeah, I agree. You don't ever draft a goaltender for the first 3 years of their professional career.
100%. Yep.
Right. Like you have to develop them. It takes time. It's fine. That's just it's the industry standard. Goaltenders generally are not coming into play until they're around 25 anyways. So you have to have those key positions filled for the future. And can we all agree that Jordan makes a much better manager / scout than he ever did a coach?
Yeah, he ruined a lot of goalies when he was.
I wouldn't say he ruined a lot of goaltenders. He's refined his skill. He's learned how to be a better coach, and that's what he's good at. He's good at identifying and bringing these guys in, and he's really good at laying out what needs to happen with these guys. So I think he's elevated his ability at the job. I don't think he ruined guys. I thought they brought in a lot of flyers on a lot of goaltenders. You look at who they've had before Dustin Wolf. It was a lot of 1-year flyers on guys like Brian Elliott, and no one's coaching that up.
I still believe that guys like Jonas Hiller and Kerry Ramo would have been better and had prolonged careers if it wasn't for Sigalet. I think he's an amazing scout. He absolutely transferred his role and changed his role into something that he's really good at. I do not think he was an NHL goalie coach.
Fair.
He's a great scout, and that's awesome because I wanted to mention something about Mackenzie Skapski. I think we're probably going to lose him because he's going to be an NHL goalie coach soon, as he well should be, because he's an elite guy for young goalies. And Jason LaBarbera has been really good for us as well. And I think that it's less about, he's good at that, he's bad at this. I think it's more that he just found what he's really good at, and that's where we got to keep him. That's great. Yeah.
Yeah, I agree. So, should we talk about the last pick in the second round that the Flames made? Now, anybody watching is going to have to bear with me. I am going to butcher this, but I'm going to give it a whirl anyways, because that's what I do. I like to punish myself. So, from the MHL, the Flames picked up a 6-foot, 190-pound winger in Alan Shakalislamov. And that's the one and only time I'm ever going to try and say his last name until I hear it said repeatedly from others that know. John, what are you thinking about Alan?
I don't know anything about this guy. I'm going to be completely honest. All I know is what I've read about this guy, and people think that this is a good, solid winger who likes to use his ice wisely. He has a good shot. He likes to get it off. He sounds like a prototypical Russian winger to me, from what all I've read for. Yeah. So I don't have a comp for him. I don't have a ton of confidence in knowing if this is a good or a bad pick. The scouting world seems to enjoy this pick and seems to think the Flames got themselves something here. If he can be what I've read on paper, then I'm excited for it. If this is a guy who plays in that middle six winger spot that can pot you some goals, can skate well and uses his ice well and his size well, then great. I'm all for this pick. So I got to learn a lot more about Allen here and what he brings to the table. But from what I read, not a bad pick for the Flames here.
Yeah, I agree. Dylan?
Yeah, much the same. I have done a little bit of looking into it. Again, it's all highlights, so you don't really know. This guy has a lot of offensive skill. He can absolutely rip the puck. He's got a lot of patience when it comes to holding on to the puck. If he's on the rush, I noticed a few times he was on the rush and he didn't really like what he saw, and he was fine with not taking a bad opportunity and instead circling around and making a good opportunity out of it. However, the scouting reports about him not wanting to pass seem to be absolutely true. He likes to hold on to the puck.
What Russian doesn't?
I was going to say that sounds very Russian. Yeah.
Well, Evgeny Kuznetsov, but anyways,
he does like to play
because he had Ovechkin to shoot for him. But yeah, no, it's just one of those things. Like, I have no idea. I have no comp. I tried my best. I couldn't think of a player who was not really willing to pass that much, but when he did, like, there was a couple plays I saw where this guy just absolutely looked off an opposing player and still passed it to where he was looking before and like completely fooled people. He seems like a very, very, very offensively talented player. And one thing I've noticed when it comes to the players that we drafted, especially the forwards we drafted this year, net front presence. All three of these guys so far that we've talked about, all three of the forwards we've talked about so far, net front presence. Now, I don't know if that'll translate for this guy to the NHL or not, as much as I think it might for Hextall or Harrington, but he did it in the plays I saw, and he also was able to score from distance and get quick shots off and quick and accurate. So, creative player, doesn't really pass the puck much. Have no idea how he is defensively. Pretty good stab, I think, for where we got him.
It sounds like a bet on skill from Trey Conroy. It really sounds like they just, hey, this is a guy with some skill. Let's bet on it.
Yeah.
Yeah, I agree. And I'm actually kind of baffled that Dylan couldn't find a comparable for somebody that doesn't like to pass. We don't know what their defense is like. Offensively skilled. When we just traded a guy back to Colorado that kind of fits that mold. Obviously, I wouldn't compare any more
Well,
of his game with number 91, but as far as the holding on to the puck potentially longer than he should, there's
I'm
an
not touching that
easy
one.
and obvious comparison in recent memory.
see, I thought
Anyways,
about that, but I didn't. People who watch the show know I don't like Kadri like at fucking all. So I didn't want to. I thought about it, but also I don't know what his back checks like. I don't know
yeah.
if he gives up when things look bad like Kadri does. I just don't. I'm not gonna make that comparison because I don't know.
Did you see any videos of him slamming into defenders at the blue line?
No, no, I saw him
Okay, well
going
then,
around them.
okay, well yeah, no comparison then. My bad. We're moving on to the third round.
Yeah.
So in a surprise move, I feel like potentially the Wi-Fi in on the draft floor was maybe kind of off and had a spinning disc, and Conroy unfortunately thought we were in the fourth or the fifth round. But coming in the third round, we have 5'10", 170-pound. The name sure means a lot to Calgary, in Joe Aginla.
This is a nostalgia pick, but at the same time, they're betting on something here. There's no way you jump a round and a half up to take a kid like Joe unless you have something there. And the rumor is Jerome had no idea this was happening. Yeah, right.
Mhm.
But you have to think that the way they've talked about why they drafted Joe and where they drafted Joe and what they think is going to happen here, calling him a late bloomer, they have to see something here. When you watch him play, it's hard to do because there's not a ton of highlights. Unless you're a big Western Hockey League guy like myself, you don't see a ton of him. This is a kid who plays a very quiet game, and so he's got to learn how to use his body a little bit more, how to get into the tougher areas a little bit more. He's got the shot, and I'm gonna say it, and people are gonna hate me for it. He's the one that has the dad shot. It's not like Teach has a different style of shot. Joe is exactly like watching his dad play, but very quiet game. So he needs a lot to work to become like his dad, of course, Hockey Hall of Famer. So to find a comp for Joe, I thought was a little bit unfair. So I didn't find one for him, but I just think that this is a kid the Flames found something in that they think is going to explode over the next couple of seasons here. He is a project, do not get me wrong. And if he plays in the National Hockey League, he's going to beat some odds because you don't often see a third rounder be an NHLer, let alone an impact NHLer. So if he does anything, it's going to be beating the odds. And so there has to be something here more. A very important year after the draft for Joe coming in for him. I wonder if the Flames kind of push Vancouver to make a move to put him in a better organization, a more competitive organization than Vancouver's been the last few years in the WHL. I wonder if the Hitmen are an option here so they could watch him a little closer. I wonder what they do there with him. But for me, this is obviously your nostalgia pick. This is your throwaway pick, people have called it. But this is a pick that clearly was a target by the Flames, and we'll see how it works out here.
Yep. Good analogy. I like that, John. Well done.
Thanks.
Way to save my my intro, my negativity.
I mean, I'm much the same as you. Like, I think it's hard to say it wasn't a reach because of where he was being mocked and where he was ranked by all the different scouting services after having a pretty tough season, injuries or not, getting moved or not. Like, still, it was a tough season for Joe. He seemed to regress instead of progress. He was being mocked in some areas. He was going to be drafted next year and not this year. So you just never know. I think that we could have probably waited another round or two and still picked him up. That being said, how do I say this? There are multiple people in that organization, like 3 of them at least that I can think of off the top of my head, who have seen this guy playing since he was like born. You know what I mean? Todd Button has been around since Tej was, or not Tej, Joe was born. Both of them. Same with Conroy. Same with Jerome. And I'm gonna kind of combat you on that because Jerome didn't want us picking Tej if we could have. There was kind of rumors out there that he was like, no, I don't want that. Let the guy have his own legacy type of thing. So I don't know if Jerome would have wanted us to pick Joe. Now there's going to be way less pressure on him because he's a third round pick and not a first round pick, but there's also going to be a lot of pressure on him because he was a third round pick when he should have been a fifth or sixth or seventh round pick. That being said, it's hard to kind of argue with these guys who have seen this guy grow and progress as a person and as a player for the last 17 years. And he's also very young. Another trend in this draft, except for the next guy I believe we're going to talk about, all of these guys are young for the draft class. So no, lots of room to grow. Kind of think it's a reach. Actually, I'm like positive it's a reach. Hopefully it works out. But again, like you said, John, it's a third round pick. Do many of them work out? No. So who knows?
Let's be honest. People talk about, and they're gonna get hung up on what round we drafted him in, and it's fine. I get it. I get the conversation, but you go past pick 40 in the draft, and you look at all the models of the percentage of an NHLer that becomes into the NHL, becomes an impact NHLer. It's single digits after pick 40. You're in single digit percentage. So whether he was a third or fifth or fourth round draft pick, it really for me is like 0.5% difference in what the probability of him being an NHLer is. So if you believe there's something in a player, then fine, pick the player. I'm not as hung up on where he was drafted. It's more of interesting that they did draft him, and they drafted him for a reason at the spot they did. So once you get past pick 40, this is all a lottery pick. Hey, it's like 8% that this guy's going to be an NHLer, play an NHL game. It's even less that he's going to be an impact NHLer. So I get they reached for the guy. I get why they picked the guy, but there's they saw something that other people didn't see, and it is what it is at the end of the day. So now it's all up. Can they develop him into something?
Yeah, I have one more question for you, John.
Yeah,
real quick. Sounds like you have more eyes on the WHL than I do. So, just from the videos I saw and some of the highlights and all that type of stuff, the shot style like his dad, yes. The driving to the net like his dad, yes. The one thing I did notice was the shot height. He wasn't really ever shooting high. It was all low and around the goalie. And I'm curious if that's something that will either progress or if it's something that will translate to the NHL very well, because you got to get it up most times in the NHL. And it seemed like he was shooting very, very, very low in most of the highlights I saw. So I was curious, as a person who's got more eyes, I think, than I do. Is that an accurate thing?
It's all a part about playing that quiet game that I was talking about, right? Like it's a softer game, a quieter game, a more outside game. If you can drive inside and have the opportunity and get the leverage on your shots to get that up, it's something that's a very coachable thing to do if the kid is driven to want to put that into his game and has the ability to do that. So you can coach those kind of things up. I'm not worried about it as a 18-year-old in the WHL as much, but that's all part of the quietness of Joe's game. And once he learns how to dig in just a little bit more here, use that body a little bit more, lean on guys, have the leverage, those shots will go up a little bit more, in my opinion. So it's a very coachable thing.
Fair enough. I think having a player that can accurately hit the net, around the pads is good. Clearly in the WHL, you're not dealing with NHL caliber goalies, so they're not controlling the rebound nearly as well, right? So if nothing else, you're giving secondary and secondary chances to get the puck in the net. And so, I mean, it's been long known that that's a design play from many teams. You don't see it nearly as much in the NHL anymore, just because of the size of goaltender and the fact that they can cover the entire net with their pads now. They're all 6'2" and above. So, and I mean, when it comes to Joe, like I don't have high expectations. Whatever he turns out is going to be however he turns out.
Mhm.
It's all leading up to him and how well he utilizes the development that the Flames are going to offer him. So I think it'll be interesting to see what he's able to do. Clearly, he has a lot of work to do to make it to the NHL, and if he is able to push through that and become an NHLer, good on him.
Mhm.
Good for him, because that'll be not his father. That'll be Joe's legacy.
Yep.
So that's my opinion on him. Like I said, I don't have super high expectations, so I'm not really worried about where he goes.
I think it would be unfair to have high expectations of Joe and further in this draft class, and maybe even Shake Slamov, or however you say it too.
Alan.
Right.
Alan. Yeah.
Alan, indeed. All right. So, man alive, that was the longest I think we've ever spent on a third round pick in the history of the Armchair GM
For
podcast.
good reason.
So let's get into the fourth round, fellas. Fourth round, picking at the 100th pick. Our first OHL player of the draft, I believe our one and only, if I'm not mistaken. Got 6 foot, 180 pound. Playing out of Saginaw, we got Igor Barabanov.
This is a guy this is a guy they watched for a long time. This is an overaged pick. Like, this is an older player.
Yeah.
There's a guy that they watched there and drafted there a couple years ago that they saw a lot of Barabanov at the same time. So they're familiar with what he brings to the table. This is a two-way kind of guy. He uses his frame well. I don't have a ton on him because he's just a straight line player, and what you see is what you get from this type of player. I don't know if he profiles into an NHLer at the end of the day. This could be one of those AHL, really good AHL type of players. But he knows how to shoot the puck. He knows how to defend fairly well, and he's a straight line player. So I don't mind this pick. Don't mind this flyer. This is the kind of area of the draft you try to pick the older players, and that's what the Flames did here. And they have familiarity as they watched Zane Parekh on the same ice sheet for a couple of seasons with the guy. So not a bad pick by the Flames here.
Yeah, and being his one and only season so far in the OHL, playing for Saginaw, I mean, picking up 91 points in 68 games is fairly impressive, right? That's pretty decent. 63 assists to go along with that. So he can clearly put the puck in the net, and he can clearly make his line mates better with a ton of assists.
Yeah, I believe he's a double overager as well. I could be wrong on that.
He's
but
20.
I believe he's double.
He's 20.
Yeah.
So you'd expect a guy like that to have more than 90 points in the OHL, honestly. Especially playing with the guys he was playing with. I'm spacing on his name right now, but he went in the first round. His centerman. And I was talking with Mike Gold about this earlier today, and Mike's quite bullish on this guy. Apparently, he watched a bunch of Saginaw this year and said this guy was actually driving a lot of the offense. So, long shot, stab in the dark, as any third, fourth, fifth, sixth, seventh round player you pick will be. Hopefully turns into something, but zero expectations. And
yeah, I mean, effectively, we're getting into the career AHL portion of the draft, right? Which is fine. If they work into something impressive, fantastic. I mean, where did Johnny Gaudreau get drafted?
Second. Round four.
Yeah.
I'm thinking it's
so.
Kucherov.
I mean, is it possible? 100%. It's all up to the player. We'll see how they develop and where they go from there.
Yeah, and that being said, Ethan Wittenbach was a 5th round pick, I believe, and is he going to be something? We still don't know, but it looks certainly like he very well has the opportunity to be. So you never know, but the chances, as John was saying, very, 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 very low.
Yeah. All right, we got another young guy and a 17-year-old in the 5th round. He's a big guy though, 6'5", 205 pounds. Playing for Tapera, which I've got a good buddy that lives in the area and is a huge Tapera fan. So I will be hitting him up on some information on this player, and I'm kind of excited to hear what his take is. So we got in 132nd pick, we have Simon Katalicki. Dylan.
This guy's a monster, I believe.
He is.
I know nothing about him. I'm not watching Finnish junior hockey. I know the Tapera logo. That's about all I got. He's a big young player. I don't know.
Yeah, he's an absolute monster of a kid. At 17 too, at 6'5", 205 pounds.
At 17.
This feels like a button pick. This feels like, hey, who's the biggest guy on our board right now? That's what this feels like to me. I know nothing about him. I never watched his game.
Yeah.
It's a 6th round pick for me. If he becomes anything, I'll be very pleasantly surprised. If he even comes to North America, I'll be surprised. We'll see what he becomes at the end of the day. But I got nothing on this one, you guys.
Yeah. That is completely fair. It's tough to know everything about a guy playing in Finland, right? Especially somebody that young that hasn't been on the radar of the NHL ever in his life. So that is completely fair. All right, so that was a quick one. We can move on from the Giant. Coming in at the 164th pick, our final pick of the 2026 draft in the 6th round. Coming out of Tri-City, or playing out of Tri-City, the USHL, we have 6 foot, 185 pound defender in Bode Leyland. Do you know anything about this kid there, John?
Because he's USHL, yes, I know a little bit because you have film to watch these kind of players on. This is a defenseman profiles more offensive than defensive. He's that skates well, good stick, very raw though in his skill and his ability. So he's going to have a lot of work to do. I believe I read he was going to from one Tri-City to the other Tri-City and playing in the WHL next year for the Americans. If that's true, that's a good development city for him to be at. He'll get a ton of minutes there. The Americans aren't a very good organization right now, so he'll get plenty of playing time. So a lot of raw ability there that you have to cultivate into something, and he'll get plenty of opportunity to do so. So a nice offensive defenseman here. Another one to add to the group for the Flames here.
Yeah, coming in with 38 points last year in 55 games, 11 goals, 27 assists. Not bad for a defender.
Yeah, I've got not much on him. He profiles to me like a Henry Muse kind of a player. Like, is he going to be something we don't know? Is there a possibility? Sure. See how it goes. 6th round pick, whatever. Part of our organization now, so all of the support is going his way, and same with the Finnish monster and Joey Ginla and all the rest.
John, do you know if it's Bodie or Bode?
I'm not sure.
I think it's Bodie.
Bodie?
Yeah,
call him Bo.
Okay. Bole. All right. Done.
So I just want to we're done talking about the draft here, but I just wanted to turn back on something that John said earlier. I think we're talking about Jack Hextall, which is not being afraid of American players.
Mm-hmm.
I am so happy, and I know Conroy's American himself, but I'm so happy that he's not, because I think, especially in this day and age, if you are skipping on players because you don't know if they're going to be happy with your organization in 7 years from now, you're skipping out on a lot of talent, especially arguably the first, second, or third best nation, like best hockey nation in the world. Like, it's pretty hard to pass up on players simply because of where they're from. I know that there's been the Adam Fox, which is a whole other conversation. And there's been, Johnny Gaudreau, who spent like half of his fucking life in Calgary. So like, sure, he wanted to go somewhere else, whatever. There's been Matthew Tkachuk, who is the only one I'm really buying that like demanded out or whatever. But all of these things in Calgary were also awful asset management when it came to Brad Treliving prioritizing for a leak over Kachuk, not signing him long term when he wanted a deal, being okay with not negotiating with Gaudreau for an entire year because you lowballed him, like just so many bad decisions in there, right? Do we care that Hannafin left? I fucking don't. You know, it's not a thing you need to worry about, in my opinion, especially when you have team control over these guys for a long time. And I'm happy Conway feels the same way.
Situation matters when it comes to this stuff. 100% does. And so if you're a winning organization or you're building towards being a winning organization, players will stay and they will play. That's why you see a guy like Dylan Larkin ask out. It's 9 years of his life. He's been with the Detroit Red Wings. They've been trying to build towards something, and you don't see an end to the tunnel when you're a player like that. And so they want out for those reasons. Noah Hannafin didn't see a winning for the Flames. He wanted out. The situation matters when it comes to this. When you have a guy like Jack Hextall that you drafted, and by the way, his dad's from Saskatchewan, so he's not pure American. But when you have a guy drafted into the organization and he's part of that build and you can get him to buy into that build and you're building towards the situation that's going to be favorable for him to stay and play in Calgary and in Canada, these players will stay here. Gaudreau signed a contract to stay here the first time because he saw something. They had success here. So your situations matter. And the reason that these players are leaving these teams is they don't have a winning culture. They don't have building towards anything. They're not making the playoffs in the case of Detroit. You see Robertson's a good example of that. In Dallas right now, he doesn't want to leave Dallas, even though he probably can't afford to stay in Dallas, because they have something there. They're trying to win. They're being successful. And why do people want to go to Florida? That exact reason. It's Stanley Cups. It's playoff runs. It's being successful. So situation matters here. So if you're upset or you're scared of drafting a 17, 18-year-old kid because his passport happens to have the stars and stripes on it, give your head a shake and rethink about how you're evaluating these players, because situation, I think, plays a bigger role in any of this than where the player is or is born, really, to be honest here.
Yeah, I do. I
straight up said that when he left on a podcast. He straight up said, this team is old. And, you know, in different words, he said, this team is old and I see a winner in Florida.
Yep.
Yeah. Yeah, obviously not having any state income tax isn't a horrible add to the mix either. And I would imagine, Kachuk, Matthew being there really enticed Brady to come into that scenario as well.
Yeah.
Yep. Situation.
And Ottawa being run badly.
It's a situation.
Yeah, Ottawa. Yeah. Could you imagine coming up against a Kachuk Bennett line in the playoffs? Screw that.
Actually, if you think about it, you have Brad Treliving, Stan Bowman, the Eugene Melnick. I know he wasn't the GM, but like the whole shit show that was under him. Like, Canadian teams aren't run by smart people, generally speaking. Like, smart, sure, but like you're being run badly, and you wonder why people want to leave. Detroit is being run horribly. You wonder why people want to leave. Florida is being run awesomely, and the Tampa's being run awesomely. Carolina's being run awesomely. Like, you wonder why people want to go there, because they're winning.
Yeah, I feel like Ottawa's an odd situation, right? Given their scenario they had a few years ago with the old owner, and then ever since then things have not progressed in a positive light for the organization. That's for sure. It's really unfortunate. Did you had mentioned before we got onto the show here, Dylan, that you wanted to have a quick discussion with John about the trade that we made?
Yeah. So obviously before the draft, a couple days before the draft, the Flames acquired Simon Nemec and Maxim Siplakov, who we cannot forget about in this trade.
You can.
Yeah, I know. Hey, man, the AHL needs help. In exchange for Vegas's first round pick next year, and why am I forgetting who's first
Colorado's
round
pick.
pick? Colorado's first round pick the next year, and Etienne Morin. I just wanted to know how you feel about that, John.
I think Siplikov, we'll start with him. I don't think he's an afterthought. I joke around about it, but I think that's a guy who he's a bottom six guy, big body. He fits kind of what the Flames want. If you can get this guy on track, he's a flippable asset, much like Oli Mata is, much like Ryan Strome is. So I think he fits right in that same category for the Flames here. And it sounds like he was just like, hey, take the salary on in part of this trade. But the main piece of this trade is Simon Nemec, and you look at this player, this is a player you're betting on. This is a player that former second overall pick by the New Jersey Devils. It looked like he got squeezed out. New Jersey kind of picked, hey, we want to hitch our wagon to Hughes here rather than have Nemec. Nobody wants to trade for Dougie Hamilton, so you're kind of stuck with his contract. And so there's not a lot of room for a guy that plays how Nemec does, which is an offensive game. I think there's a more well-rounded game in this player if you can get it out of him, coach it in him, I should say. But I like this move and this bet for the Flames because he fits the age range. He fits what they're looking for. And when you have an opportunity to add another right shot defenseman, you do it. I've never, like I went earlier in the podcast, said I've never heard a general manager complain about having too many defensemen, especially the right side of things. And people will push back on me on that, and that's fine. If Nemec, Parekh, Muse, Brestevich all pan out, you have a trade chip then on your hands that you can move out for something else that you may need in the future. So this is a very, very much is a bet. This very much could go go south and be bad for the Flames. But the higher side of this is this could be awesome. This could show up your top four. This could make a nice defensive partner for a guy like a Kevin Ball or a Jan Kuznetsov long term. This is a guy who's going to help run your other power play unit. And this is a guy who can elevate your lineup. This guy scores overtime. He had 3 overtime winners in his limited time with New Jersey last year. So he has that pop to his game. Good bet. He does need a contract. It's going to be an expensive contract. So just kind of swallow it and move on with your lives when you see the contract, because it's not going to be a pretty one on paper. But once he develops in what he can be, he's going to earn every cent of it, I believe. I have a lot of faith in what they will get here with Nemec, and I'm excited to see for it. A top 4 with Parekh and Nemec. It's a lot of offense, and on a team that's not scoring a ton, you got to have a good back end, and I think the Flames have built that here.
Yeah, I mean his age fits the mold brilliantly, and I believe he's one of those players that just needed a change of scenery. Things were not going exactly how he anticipated it there, which is fine. So yeah, so we give up the 2 firsts and the second round in this year's draft, along with Morin, which, I mean, okay, I'm not worried about that in any capacity. So it's worth taking a flyer on. And then I think the potential is good, right? I think there's more potential upside than downside, in my opinion.
100%.
Yeah, exactly. The potential greatly outweighs the risk, in my opinion.
Yep.
Yeah, and I think it also kind of affected our draft because with Chase Reed being available too, like there was, and Daxton Rudolph, who was obviously picked, but like there was a lot of these defensemen who were kind of ranked about the same, and we don't know what Conroy's list was. We hear it was Carl's was 3rd overall, which would have been the first defenseman. So that's great for us. But if Reed was still there, would have been a tougher decision if we didn't have, Nemec and Parekh. I don't want to just like sit here and crap on New Jersey, but like they have to unhitch themselves from this Hughes wagon, man. Everything that they do is all Hughes all day, and that's it. Jack made them not play Nemec by saying you need to play my brother on the power play. There was reports about that. You need to play my brother on the power play, even when he wasn't ready for it, even when he wasn't playing well. And they basically just bent over like Edmonton does with McDavid. They just bent over and did whatever Jack said. And that's organizations need to not do that, and give their players proper opportunities to thrive. And I think that New Jersey really messed up, and they're going to regret it. Not that Luke Hughes is a bad player, because he's progressed pretty well, but I think Nemec is going to be a better player than Luke Hughes in the long run. So yeah, I'm extremely happy with the trade. I think, like I said, the benefits is going to outweigh the risk tenfold. Yeah.
Yeah, I
Trade
think given how they made that trade, just a couple days before the draft, that's what made me somewhat surprised that we picked a defenseman on our first pick. But clearly, they were going with the best player available, which is obviously what they should be doing. So it's but and that being said, they drafted a left shot, which as everybody in Calgary knows, I mean that's coveted.
Yeah.
We have had an abundance of right-handed defenders over the last few years, and Conroy was pretty successful at getting a couple of them out, and now we move over.
And a bigger aggressive defender as well.
Yeah.
Not like Carl's has the offense, but he is, from what I gather, you're like John, you're a WHL guy. You'd probably know a little bit better than I do, but this guy seems to defend well and is a fairly aggressive defender. So it just makes sense to put that along with these two high-flying offensive righties.
I think just given how he was raised, I think he's going to be a very hard defender to play against.
That's how he plays. If you watch any Cougars game, you watch how he plays the game, you literally see Charlie McAvoy who hits. And that's how what I see when I watch him play. And when you have that type of player, you draft him, and that's why they had him ranked. If it's true, that's why you have him ranked third on your board, has the top defenseman. Yeah. I get everyone's opinions on the draft. I don't think it changed one bit with them making the Nemec trade. I think they had a target, an opportunity to pick up a young defenseman. They paid the price. They brought him in. And they go from there. Yeah. And they had their draft list set, and that's their best available player. Pick them, take them, and run, and move on with your life. And now we have an opportunity here where you're looking at a defensive group that's young, that has a lot to learn. And if these guys can progress and play well, then you're going to have a very good decor for years to come. Carroll's is going to the University of North Dakota, the opportunity for him to play a lot of minutes and play well for them. You have Zane Parekh, who's going to get a ton of minutes in Calgary. You have Henrik Stavich, who's going to get a ton of minutes in Calgary. Kuznetsov has to show that it wasn't a 1 year off for him, that he has it to do it again. Kevin Ball is quickly becoming one of the premier shutdown defenders in the league. And now what can you fill around them? You have all these other pieces to fill in there. So I think we're on a good path on the back end for the Flames. The trick now is 2027, you've got to find some centers, and you got to put yourself in a position to draft high and pick one of them premium centers that are coming up next year.
Yeah, I agree with that wholeheartedly. I think we're finally at a position where I'm excited about the decor. You know what I mean? Like we've had decent defenders over the last 5+ years, but there's a different level of excitement for me, and I find it very refreshing that Conroy is willing to spend assets on younger players and move into the future, because it's a stark contrast from Tree Living that would spend assets on aging veterans and people in their mid to late 20s and beyond that, for like a swing and a miss for the playoffs potentially, and we would be out of draft picks, second round, first round picks, right? Where now we're in a position where Conroy, obviously he's accumulating these picks, via getting rid of some guys, so he has that capital to play with and still be able to draft well, but he's using those picks on young developing stud players, and that is refreshing in my opinion. It's one of the key things that I think is one of the differences between Conroy and what Tree Living did to the Calgary Flames organization. Is Conroy's building us for the future, Tree Living sold it.
Yeah,
essentially.
I mean, to be fair, to Tree Living, and I'm never fair to Tree Living. I think he ruined the Flames, but he was being told and acting as if the team was good, and the moves he made were not great. Like the depth moves he made were not super great or anything like that. But he had a different directive. He didn't execute that directive very well, but he had a different directive than Conroy has, and Conroy is executing the directive he got a lot better. And one thing I just want to finish off, I said this on the show last week, I think, but one thing I really enjoy about how the Flames are building, it would be great to have a bona fide first line center prospect. We don't. We have one young player who I think is actually a first line forward at this point, and that's Matthew Gridden, and that's not even a guarantee. That being said, I like how we're building from the back out. I like how we have the older goalie, older being 24, I think Wolf is not old, right? He's got plenty of years ahead of him. Carls isn't going to be in the NHL next year, but I think he will be at the end. And I think it's great to have all these young defensemen developing around Wolf. So that way Wolf can learn their tendencies and they can learn Wolf's tendencies. And as this team gets better, there'll be more unity and more all that type of stuff, right? More chemistry between the goalie and the defenseman. And that's going to make this team much better than just a team who's always changing their parts out.
Yeah. Well, should we leave it there, fellas?
Yeah, John,
your podcast.
Plug some stuff.
Yeah.
Plug
where can people find you? Tell us about your show. Are you on X and Instagram and all that?
I am everywhere. You can find my podcast, The Red Mile Rundown, wherever you get your podcast, Apple, Spotify, Amazon. We're on YouTube as well. So wherever you get your podcast, we are literally there. You can find me on any social media platform. I am on there, on some more than others, but at Vintage Johnny 84, wherever you want to do your social media, I'm there. And so is the show at Red Mile Rundown. Easy to search up there. And don't forget to like and subscribe to it as well. We appreciate those, and new episodes come out every Tuesday morning in time for your morning commute. They'll be right there on your phone for you if you smash that nice little bell button there, and it'll listen right to your phone. So Red Mile Rundown every week.
Awesome. Really appreciate you coming on and getting your take on the 2026 draft. There was some good stuff in there. You've sold me on a couple of players. Dylan, like I said, quickly diminished that in the one, which is fine. That's what he does to me on a regular basis. That being said, don't forget to share the show with everybody you know, and smash that like. And things are moving forward. We've got UFA start is when is that? Next Wednesday?
Yep. Yeah, 3 days from now.
Wednesday. So things are exciting in the hockey world right now before the official summer break. So we'll see. I want to see who you guys think we're going to be signing, if any, and what your take is on how we draft. Make sure you comment below. Thanks for joining, everybody. Once again, go Flames. Cheers.
Cheers.